I look at that picture every morning. My life on this memory too. From now on,
I would like to call this meeting to order. Today is February 22nd. The time 2022, and the time is 7:01 p.m. There is a quorum present in the chambers. We have Councilmember Nahira, Councilmember Clark, and Councilmember Ricketts, as well as myself, Mayor Holt.
Excuse me?
You haven't hit record. Okay, tell me when you're ready.
This conference will now be recorded.
I call this meeting to order. Today is February 22nd, 2022. The time is 7:02 p.m. There is a quorum present in the chamber. We have Councilmember Nahira, Councilmember Clark, and Councilmember Ricketts. Online we have Councilmember Robb, and Councilmember Morrow is absent. Thank you all. Item number 2, invocation and pledge. You would bow your head with me. Thank you, Father God, for all your blessings. We pray for your strong arm and protection of our great country, the United States, and what we are confronted with here of recent events. Give us guidance, give us wisdom, give us your love. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. And if you stand with me for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Go USA. Presentations. We've got 2 tonight, and I like to invite Chief Manis to come up. He's going to present, it's an annual report, a racial profiling report. Purpose of that report is to ensure there is no racial profiling occurring. And please take it away.
Hey, Mayor, this is Rob Alabon.
Yes, sir.
I'm sorry to butt in. I don't know if it's just me, but your volume is much lower tonight than it's been in the past. Jim or Councilmember Rob, are you able to hear like usual?
Can we, would each of you test your mic? I'm going to turn mine off and then speak into it. And Rob, listen up maybe and see if you can tell the difference.
Testing 1, 2, 3. This is Councilmember Clark.
Councilmember Ricketts.
Did you hear a difference?
They all came through very well, and you are coming through better now. I don't know if you move closer to the mic or if they've bumped the volume, but you're better now to me.
This is Councilmember Rob. When you spoke a second ago, Mayor, you were much clearer than before. But however, there's somebody online that has an open mic that's causing, when Rob speaks, severe reverberation. So I'd like to ask anybody who's not speaking to mute their phone.
Very good. But you can hear me, so we can proceed. It is a requirement that people be able to hear.
Yes, sir. It's much better now. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
No, you're fine. Council members, can y'all hear me? The ones online? Everybody? Okay, good. Okay. I believe you have in front of you the 2021 Racial Profiling Report, and I'm going to give you just a brief synopsis of that, and then I'll open it for questions if anybody has any questions. Just some facts about it, and some of this I think is in your packet as well, in the communique that y'all received. The 77th Legislature in 2001 wrote into law the Racial Profiling Bill. And basically, law enforcement agencies are required to record certain data that we collect on traffic stops. There's about 12 pieces of information that we gather, everything from race, gender, what type of roadway they were on, the reason for the stop, whether there was a search or not, what the final outcome of the stop was, a citation or no citation, an arrest, and different things like that. There's about 12 different pieces of information. We're required to provide that information to the government entities that we serve. And in Tarrant County, we have the unincorporated part of Tarrant County, which will be our commissioner's court that we present to as well. And we have a contract with Edgecliff Village, and we have a contract with you here in the city of Haslet. So, you know, this is part of it. And like I said, I'll be very brief in my presentation and open it up for any questions you may have. There were no racial profiling reports in all of Tarrant County, not in Haslet, not in Edgecliff, not in the unincorporated parts of the county as well. Traffic stops were down from 2020 about 17%, and we're working to improve those numbers as well. The stops, as I said before, they're broken down into gender and race as well. So 66% of the motorists that we stopped were male and 34% were female. I don't know what that really says or not, but that's anyway. That's the stats there. So it's about 2/3 male that we stopped. Caucasian drivers were about 48%, African American about 24%, Hispanics around 22%, and then the remaining 6% were Asian, Island Pacificer, American Indian, a mixture of that for that 6%. Of the traffic stops, 489 of the traffic stops, or 79%, were for hazardous traffic violations. And, you know, some of the things that, you know, we believe that traffic enforcement serves many purposes. And one, it corrects hazardous driving behavior. So that's what we tell our officers or our deputies. And sometimes that can be done with a citation. It can be done with a verbal warning. So we leave that up to discretion of the deputies as to how they proceed on the traffic stops. But about 79% of them were hazardous traffic violations, which is what we like to see. So those are violations like running a stop sign, running a red light, speeding, unsafe lane change, different stuff like that could cause an injury accident. So that's why we like to see the hazardous stops there. We also believe that criminals travel to and from their locations of their offenses, either driving a vehicle or motorcycle of some type. So we also encourage those investigative traffic stops that are based on a traffic law violation as well. Enforcement action happened about half of the time, about 52% of the time. which normally, I mean, that's probably about right for Haslet here. The statistics change over the county anywhere from 45 to a little over 50%. So it's roughly about half the time that we issue citations. Less than 1% of the traffic stops resulted in a search. The searches are done on probable cause. If we approach a vehicle and we see, a pound of meth or a kilo of meth on the driver's seat or in the passenger seat, then that would be what we consider plain view, and we would make a search on that or probable cause search. There's also consent to search. If we ask the driver, can we search the car, we'll get a written consent, and we'll also record that as well in our video cameras. So anyway, there were only 3 searches in all the traffic stops, so less than 1%. And of the traffic stops, they made about 6 arrests, and those range from everything from warrants to DWIs to whatever the stop may result in. One of the ways that we make sure that we comply with racial profiling, we have video cameras in our vehicles. We don't have the body cams as of yet, but we do have the dash cams. So we review that periodically and randomly just to make sure that we're in compliance. And we use it as a training tool in a lot of other different areas. So that's one way that we comply as well. That concludes the highlights of the report. If anyone has any questions, I'd be more than happy to answer anything that you have.
I've got a question. It doesn't pertain to racial profiling, but
Okay.
do you keep statistics on the type of vehicles you pull over, like big trucks versus regular vehicles? And the reason I ask is because we have a lot of aggressive 18-wheeler drivers that come up and down 156.
We normally don't, well, we do, we capture that on a citation if it's written. And then we have it in data on our traffic stops when we call out on the radio and different things, and we'll have it on camera. But as far as compiling it for this or compiling it for any other reason, we don't, but we certainly could. So. Any other questions?
Council, anybody that's online? Any question? Well, Chief, very good. We appreciate the report. Was very thorough. It broke it down in ways that it was just quite extensive. But we appreciate it. We thank you for your work. Good job.
Thank you. We appreciate it. Thank you all for having me. Okay. Good night.
With that, I'd like to invite up Chief Mays. Be the introduction of new volunteer firefighters, and he's going to give us a brief of this. And
well, good evening, Mayor and Council. This is always a bittersweet time of year because the sweetness is we get some new toilet scrubbers and people take out trash, and we say goodbye to a lot of our old ones. So again, once a year we test every January for volunteer firefighters. We have to follow the State Firemen Fire Marshal Association rules. Before you can enter into a burning building or an IDLH atmosphere, you have to obtain certain amount of training hours and time. As we again train on Tuesday nights and some Saturdays, it takes 6 months for them to get to that one phase of that. And that's Lieutenant Selzer in the red shirt is one of our career guys. He's the mother hen, as I like to call things, to the baby duck. So his job is to get them where they need to be. And then they go on for another 3 months to learn another phase. So it's a 9-month process in order to finally get voted on and to obtain the certifications required by the state and by our organization. So anyway, so in January, we tested. We had 14 applicants show up. It was a lower number, normally in about that 24 number. Out of the 14, 3 failed the written test, and then 2 other ones failed the physical, and we ended up with 9. We had 5 openings. I have some flexibility to go above if needed. And kind of typically we lose some through the process. And so we were just impressed with this group of people. So we chose to take all 9 of them. And as luck would have it, One tore a rotator cuff before he even did his first training, and he was out. The second one did a little bit of training and decided that there was more to this than going honk, honk, woo, 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 and he's no longer with us. So we have these 7, and so part of the things that we do is we try to get them to do public speaking and have them to talk in front of people. So, gentlemen, if you would please come forward and introduce yourself to the mayor and council.
Hi, Mayor. Hi, Council. My name's Larry Mahan. I live in Bedford, Texas.
Very good.
Good evening. My name is Keller Sitzer. I live in Fort Worth, Texas.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Jacob Tankersley, and I also live in Fort Worth.
Good evening. I'm Asher Gutierrez, and I also live in Fort Worth.
I'm Quentin Givens. I live in Fort Worth in the Watersbend area.
Mayor, council members, my name is Ignacio Cruz, and I live right here in Haslet. Pleasure to be here.
Good evening, council members. My name is Justin Mundo. I'm 18 years old, and I live in Saginaw, Texas.
All right. There you go. You have any questions before they go train? We had a fire on Shriver just a minute ago. Luckily, it was easily dealt with. But so they get all excited because fire trucks are leaving and they had nowhere to go. So anyway, they got training to do.
I'd like to come down, and I invite council as well to come down and shake these gentlemen's hand. It's a volunteer thing, and I know that their training can be grueling, and what we got is the best of the best at it applied. And my privilege to come down and thank you all. Good job, gentlemen. Thank you. No, thank you so much, all of you. We appreciate your work, and thank you. You know, of all our boards and commissions, there's nothing more grueling and dedicating and decision-making to get on than our volunteer fire department. All right, very good. Let's go to item 4, citizen participation and comments. Do we have any comments?
No, sir. I haven't received any by email or by card.
Do we have any online? All right, then. Let's go to item 5. Items of community interest. 5A. The filing period for the May 7, 2022 general election ended Friday, February the 18th, which was for council member place 1, council member place 3, and council member place 5. It will be on the ballot. The ballot order drawing to determine the name of the order of placement on May 7, 2022 general election ballot was held this morning at 9 o'clock, Tuesday, February 22nd. And the ballot order is, and I have that paper here, let me please announce this. Council member place 1, Doug Hork. Council member place 3, Marilyn Broyles. The one contested race that we will have is council member place 5 is our Mayor Pro Tem Tanya Morrow, incumbent, and Joette King. So the listing on place the ballot of place 5 will be Tanya Morrow first, and then Joette Keene. 5B, the Carter BloodCare Drive, Friday, March 11th, 2022, Haslet Library parking lot, 1 to 4 p.m. Believe me, all the Carter BloodCare and others are in just desperate need of donors. So if you have the time and the inclination, I know it will be appreciated. 5C's Volunteer Appreciation Banquet is Saturday, April 30th at 6 p.m. at the Heritage Baptist Church, and that's where we have all our volunteers, the boards and things of that nature, and express our appreciation. And please let Shannon know that you're coming so we can get a head count on things. I hear it will be delicious. And there will be a guest speaker. We haven't identified that yet, but I'm sure it'll be good. All right.
Mayor Holsey, before you go on,
Yes.
just one quick question. On the Carter blood drive, is it blood only, or are they going to actually have the capability of doing platelets, or do you know?
I don't know. Does anyone here know about that? I don't know. I can't answer that. We could, being at the library, I know that Barbara coordinates with that item. And Barbara's not online here, but if you wanted to place the call to Barbara being the librarian. Item 6, administrative reports. Council, do you have any questions on any of the reports?
Mayor Holsey,
Yes.
I had one question just on one, and it comes down to the court performance report.
Yes.
And I don't know if you've pulled that up, and I know that they just talked about at the beginning of the that the chief spoke at the very beginning about how things are down. The court performance report looks like it's really down though, and I don't know if there's something driving that. If you look at where we were last year at this time, you know, previous year versus the current year, you know, October 69, only 11. I just didn't know if there's something driving it. Is it the aspect of the our sheriffs are having to be up at the not doing some of this other stuff? And again, this is not the actual sheriff's report. This is actually the citations, which would come afterwards with the court citations.
So you're correlating the court performance report with the citations that the sheriff provided.
Yeah, and I'm just wondering, it seems to be way down.
First I'm saying, you know, let me say this as a precursor to anything. We're not trying to meet any quotas.
No.
And as to why it's gone down or went down, I can't answer that.
I'm not looking at quotas or trying to look at quotas, but I'm looking at the aspect, we take a lot of these citations when we're looking at budget from aspect of as a revenue. And if we are way down, is it something we need to be concerned with, or is there a reason why we're way down?
We're not dependent upon that budget resulting from that. I can't tell you why it's down.
I'm letting you know, from a total of, we should have had 200 and some through this month, you're down to maybe only having maybe 30. So that's how drastic of a change it is. So that's the reason I'm saying something's not correlating correctly.
We will investigate that, and we can report back. If you'll make a note, Shannon, is that we can report back at the next meeting and give an explanation to the best of our ability on that. Okay.
Mayor Halsey,
Yes.
this is Joette Keene. I actually have a question about the blood drive. I believe from a timing perspective, that could come out on our water bill. Is an announcement of that? Do you know if that's planned? so that the community would be more broadly aware? Or is there something we can do to help raise awareness beyond this meeting?
Well, excuse me, Ms. Keene, this is not, we're discussing annual reports and very specifically court report, and I can't take that question right now.
Okay, I apologize.
Thank you. We'll follow up.
Yeah, that's all. I was just concerned.
And we'll look back at the the sheriff's report and try to come up with some, and contact the sheriff's department as well as talk with the court to understand what the drop is.
Okay, and I'm just, again, I'm curious on the aspect of, we've discussed and stuff with the sheriffs and having them to spend time up at the hotel, and our concerns that we've had at that point. I just don't know if that has any correlation to it too.
I don't know. I can't tell you that. Now, with regard to the hotel, I can tell you that the activity has decreased there primarily because they're stepped up presence around it. So that's helped out a lot. But we'll get you an answer to this, and we can reply back. Let's make a report, if we'll note that, at the next council meeting.
I was just going to state it looked like Marcy may have had something to say.
Oh, does she? Marcy.
Yes, Mayor and Council. I do know that citations are down. There are more than one reason for that. One is that it's not directly necessarily related to the hotel. However, with the Tarrant County being short-staffed, they are responding to major incidents and more emergency calls than perhaps they are writing citations due to their short staff. Having the time to just patrol and look for traffic violations has not probably been able to rise to their priority since they're short-staffed. I'm not sure I can answer all the ins and outs of how they assign staff to Haslet, but they, whenever they have an opening for officers to move around, they have somewhat of a lottery system to figure out where the deputies want to work when they're working out in the county.
Marcy,
and
I don't know that this is time to get into that. We're talking about the court report.
Right. So the citations are down, and that's one of the reasons. The citations are down from even the year before during COVID, when they weren't writing as many tickets because of exposing everyone to the possibility of transmitting the virus. So COVID has still been a concern, and that may be another factor leading into it. But I can certainly get with Katie, the court administrator, and we can have a report for you that's more in depth at the next council meeting.
Thank you.
I do want to point out, that in the last several weeks there's a new report, a weekly report that Sergeant Mamunion started generating, and I started sending out to you for your, and that gives descriptions of the time it takes to do certain things. And that is kind of alludes to what Marcy is saying. Let's say they pull over someone and there's a DWI. Well, that's about 4 or 5 hours. Take them down to the county and book them in, and if there's an arrest of anything of that nature, that takes 50% of our force away right there. Not that it happens every day, but not offering. Just give you some insight. So focus on those reports. That'll help give you some insight as to what's going on. I can't hear. I'm sorry.
That's what I'm saying is I have been looking at those, and that brings up the concern that I have. And again, it's a resource issue that I'm worried about. So
They have our attention on it. Any other questions on any reports? No? Anybody online? Councilman Rob? Very good. Item 7, updates on activities, projects, and event recaps. Is Mr. Rogers with us? Hello, Mr. Rogers. Are you out there? All right, community park projects. Mr. Rogers is not here, and do you know something about that? You look like you want to say something, Thad.
Yes, sir, Mayor, and Mike Anderson is on as well. We are going to discuss the park projects tomorrow at DRC. They have been presented one time to the Parks Board, and so those are actively being pursued, those projects. The hope is to, once we receive DRC comments, take it back to the Parks Board one last time, and then bring it to Type B for any funding shortfalls, at least to ask and see if they want to fund the entire project, or pardon me, just that $200,000 commitment they've already made. So we're putting together a full package to show the impact of all of those improvements on the park.
Public work equipment purchases. I do know that nothing of late has been purchased. I know that's what the most imminent one is, and we have not, is the big vac truck. It's a $500,000 piece of equipment, and that's all I know, but nothing else has been purchased to date. Fire station spoils pile. I can give you some insight on that. Is that we'll have an ILA with the county, and that interlocal agreement is to do work here in the city of Haslet. And one of the projects is the ball fields behind the fire station and the road that leads down to the fire station. And where the spoil pile is a designated parking area. And that pile will be used to surface that or grade that road out with and level it. And then they'll come in and resurface on the top of that. And that pile will get used up in that project. Does anyone, Mike Anderson, anybody else have anything they want to add to that with regard to the spoil pile? Okay. All right. 7D, interlocal agreements. Mr. Anderson.
Yes, sir. Mayor, members of the council. Update on the interlocal agreements, item 7D. There's a total of 5 projects being discussed with the county. We've got on our agenda tomorrow at DRC to hone in on the funding for those projects, and it's our desire to bring those back once a plan's in place for funding of those projects. The mayor spoke of one to resurface the access road and parking area for the park behind the fire station. We've also got the Nance parking lot. We've got White Lane, and we've got Harmon Road tentatively planned for pavement improvements with the county this year. So we should be discussing those tomorrow, putting a funding plan together, and I would suspect that those would be coming back to the council for consideration in the next month or so. That's all we have on that one.
Good. Haslet Parkway right-of-way easements. I addressed the school board. Their last meeting was last week on this issue, and expressed, there was no discussion. It was a presentation on my part with regard to our stance on it, and that there could be instead of asking a city, and particularly small cities that they serve, is that it was a more equitable situation if the school board would vote in favor of paying the impact fee, and thus that cost is distributed out towards all the users, not just an isolated group of users here in Haslet, Texas, as where NISD probably serves a population of about 30,000, and we got 2,200. And to ask one group pay all those impact fees, because that money's got to be paid to improve things like, very specifically, a $3.2 million pump station, an upgrade. So that also there was a complexity with the right-of-way easements, and that it was in the same agreement that incorporated the impact fees. I just spoke about the impact fees, but that was all in one topic. So with the right-of-way easements, what we've asked to do to separate the right-of-ways from this impact fee issue is for their attorney to come up with some documentation, paperwork, or agreement, so we can consider the right-of-ways only and then the impact fee issue only. And that is in the process, and Thad, you spoke with them. So you have any update on that?
Tim McClure and I have spoken on it. We hope to have something this week. So again, it could be ready for council. Probably not next time, but the one after. And again, the discussion is separating those pieces out. The city has already given the credit against the value, so the city has acted as if that agreement was negotiated and signed. So they need to move on that one, and they understand.
So that was, but the right-of-way and the impact fee topic was all in one document, and we're separating them out so we can consider them separately. All right.
This is Councilman Robert. I have a question on that.
Yes.
Someone remind me what the deadline is for having these easements in our pocket.
We're past that deadline. It was
December 31st was in the management plan. Again, TxDOT has been pretty flexible, but we are past that deadline for those two, and NISD has been made aware of that as well.
And again, Rob, that was a management plan date. We've talked to TxDOT about that. That is not a construction schedule. That is not a real-time schedule of sorts. That was a management plan put together several years ago.
It was a best guess.
So we're not in any trouble yet.
Yeah, I kind of assumed that, but I know that was the management plan. But for when is the real deadline?
There is no other deadline documented anywhere other than that management plan deadline. There is no other deadline established anywhere.
So when do we foresee that being an issue?
If it took us another 6 or 8 months to resolve this, it would be an issue. But it's not. So it's taken this time to bring the topic this far between us and NISD. So again, if it took another 6 months, yeah, it could become a timing issue with the ability to get the utilities moved and the contractor being Zachary being able to start roadway construction.
If I may, Mayor, we have also requested from TxDOT the contract between Zachary and TxDOT, but have not been provided that document. They've referenced that, again, by October of this year, Zachary anticipates being able to start work on the other end of the project, but we haven't been provided that. But again, it's best guess dates. We would like to see, again, those dates so that we know what we're working against.
Again, according to, yeah, we don't have that contract, so we don't know what was cited in the contract. There spells out any liabilities, but according to this management plan, the roadway contractor, Zachary, has got to be able to start work December of this year, correct?
They said October, Mayor, but again.
Oh, was it October?
Yes, sir.
Oh, that is correct. It is October.
Can you remind me again if this is part of phase 1 or phase 2, just right away?
This is all related to phase 2.
So we still have the ability to condemn this property, right? Even though it's owned by another governmental agency?
I would defer to Rob on that one. Councilmember Rob, again, we've already offered a credit for the full value, so there would be a lot of other things that would need to occur. The school district would need to return those funds to the city of Haslet. So again, it's complicated and also a timing issue because that could get into the 6 months.
I will say this, Councilman Rob, this has all been complicated, mired in this aspect of these impact fees because it was all contained in one document. That's why it's being held up. So once that, we'll expect that paperwork this week.
The hope is they'll have this week for you and Rob Alabon to review. That was what the commitment was last week.
That separates the two issues. And that gives us a clear path on these right-of-ways. I don't know why we combined them to begin with. But nonetheless, the solution is to move forward, is separate the two issues.
Exactly. And as a reminder, their attorney drafted that part of the document that tied those two together. We did not. So again, we've requested that they fix that so we can move forward.
Yeah. And they see the value of it. Rob, did you have any comment? I'm sorry. Go ahead, Councilman Rob.
Yeah, I was thinking, I appreciate your efforts to bring this to a close, and it sounds like the best path available to us right now. So let's continue to march and play this hand, see what happens.
No, very good. I think it'll be a good resolution, a quick one. And the path will be clear for construction to continue. Any questions on any of the 5 projects we called out?
Yeah, that's Councilman Rob again. I would suggest that we delete the spoils pile since we have for recurring comments, since we have a use for it and soon won't be a problem.
I agree. That's a good suggestion, and we'll do that. All right. Moving on to item 8 is consent agenda. We have 8A is the approve February 7th, 2022 regular city council meeting minutes.
Mayor Holsey, I move to approve the consent agenda as written.
Motion is made to approve the consent agenda as presented. Is there a second?
This is Councilmember Clark. I'll second.
All right, I'll have a roll call vote. Councilmember Nahira.
Aye.
Councilmember Clark.
Aye.
Councilmember Ricketts.
Aye.
Councilmember Robb.
Aye.
Motion passes 4-0 with Mayor Pro Tem Morrow being absent. Item 9, public hearing ordinances, resolutions, and action items. 9A, discuss, consider, and act regarding approving an ordinance reappointing municipal court of record judge and substitute judge and authorizing municipal judge agreement. Who is the presenter on this?
Mayor Halsey, I'll report on that if that's okay. Tonight you have before you an ordinance, and I'm sorry, I'm not sure what the number of it is. It's not numbered in the item on the agenda. But the ordinance and the municipal judge agreement are both contained in your packet. We have, in the Haslet Code of Ordinances, we have an ordinance that allows our judge to be appointed by the council for a term of 2 years. The last time we adopted the ordinance was in January of 19th, but it was reappointing the judge for a 2-year term beginning October 1 of 2018 for the term of October 1, 2018 to 2001 of 20. The reason that we're doing it now, we've got both of the agreement and the ordinance lined up to have the same even term. And I believe that during the changeover this year, we had this on our schedule, and during COVID, and then with the vacancies in our city secretary position for a while, this is just now coming to light that this was missed on the calendar. So we're asking the council to consider reappointing our judge, Brad Bradley, and as municipal judge, and Mark Chambers as our associate municipal judge. They both agreed to be reappointed. The judge has been on board since 2006, and the agreement is attached, which sets the rate of pay he's to receive. Just to remind the council that we don't have enough activity in our municipal court to justify a full-time judge, so we do have this per contract, and the judge is paid $500 per month. If the judge is not able to preside over that court, then the municipal associate judge will and receive the same rate of pay. Currently with COVID, we are having a virtual courtroom, and we are just meeting for court one time a month. There have been some times during this time period that court was canceled due to not enough people appearing or agreeing to appear over a virtual environment. So the court, even though they're not meeting in person, they are meeting every month. The judge does come in as needed to sign paperwork and do other duties that are necessary to, conduct and complete the business of the court. So staff is asking and recommending that the council consider appointing Brad Bradley as municipal judge and Mark Chambers as associate municipal judge, and to authorize their municipal judge agreement.
Very good. I know that Councilmember Rob can remember this, but I had when we had the pleasure of establishing court here in Haslet. I know that Brad Bradley was one of the. He was not the original judge that we had, but he was certainly one of the candidates. And for some reason, he did come on in 2006, but he's done a good job for Haslet, Texas. I would recommend that you pass this, and I would entertain a motion.
Mayor Halsey, I move that we approve the ordinance reappointing the municipal court of record judge and the substitute judge, and authorize the municipal judge agreement.
Motion is made to approve the ordinance reappointing municipal court of record judge and substitute judge and authorizing a municipal judge agreement. Is there a second?
I'll second.
There is a second. I have a roll call vote, please. Councilmember Nahara,
Aye.
Councilmember Clark,
Aye.
Councilmember Ricketts,
Aye.
Councilmember Robb.
Aye.
Motion passes 4-0 with Mayor Pro Tem Morrow being absent. Item 9B, discuss, consider, and act regarding a variance request for the placement of a residential swimming pool located at 309 Berry Drive. Mr. Thetford.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. What you have before you tonight is a variance request, as you said, for a pool placement located at 309 Berry Drive in Haslet Park. Essentially, the pool builder, they applied for the pool to be located on the side property line. As you can see, it's on the side of the house. In accordance with our ordinance, we do not allow that. All pools shall be placed behind the primary structure. They are so the permit was denied. They are asking for a variance on this. They're asking for a variance to place the pool on the side. As you can see on the site plan, the back door of the home is actually on the side of the structure, on the right side. For safety reasons, they're asking to have the pool in line of sight of that back door. And this is up to the council to approve this variance. So here we are. If you have any questions, I believe the applicant is online. They were instructed to log in if they're able to.
Okay, what is the variance of what? What was the variance for?
To place the pool on the side of the house and not behind the structure. The ordinance requires it to be behind in the backyard. This is essentially on the side yard, and that's the reasoning behind the variance request.
But it is again behind the front line of the house.
Yes, sir. It's behind the front line and behind a 6-foot privacy fence.
Yeah. Very good. Council, any questions?
Yeah, I've got some questions. I did look at this, and it's hard for me to picture, first of all, did the zoning committee look at this? Did they have any opinion on whether they approve this or not?
No, sir. It's a variance request based on it's a council request.
That you asked if what? I didn't hear you.
Does the zoning commission ever look at this or another committee to see if they approve it?
No, it does. It goes. This is straight to the council. Okay. No other commissions look at this topic.
Okay, so then the question is for the applicant then. So the reason for the request is so you can have the back door looking into the pool?
Correct. That door on the east side of the house is the only exterior door going into our backyard.
I don't know if your neighbors would have an issue with this. Have you spoken with them?
Actually, they just moved in. Haven't even had a chance to meet them.
But this is separated by a 6-foot privacy fence.
Correct.
Yes, ma'am.
I just had a question for Mike. So it looks like it says 14 foot 6 inches from the pool to the side property line. So the easement there is 15 feet, correct?
For a building, yes. All pools,
okay.
Yeah, for the build line is 15 feet. Pools can be up to 5 feet or within 5 feet of that property line.
Okay, I remember that now. Okay, thank you.
That's really the question I was asked. This black line represents the easement. Then, basically.
Let me ask a question with regard to the pools. I know the installation of a pool and the subsequent grading can cause sometimes drainage issues. Any comment on that?
The ordinance, the way it was written, it does take in to the count of drainage issues. So especially from the decking, we do have a 1-for-1 ratio of area from decking to the property line. So if you have 5 feet of decking, you have to have 5 feet from the property line. That's one of the reasons we did build that in there. So drainage is a concern here, and I believe I don't see any issues with this.
All right, very good. That'd be my only concern. It's going to be out of sight of neighbors. You can't see it from the street. Councilman Rob, any comments on it? Any questions?
No, I believe it's okay with me.
Unless there's any other concerns, I would entertain a motion.
I move that we approve the variance request for the placement of residential swimming pool located at 309 Berry Drive as presented.
Motion is made to approve the variance request for the placement of a residential swimming pool located at 309 Berry Drive. Is there a second?
I'll second.
There is a second. Roll call vote, please. Councilmember Nahira?
Aye.
Councilmember Clark?
Aye.
Councilmember Ricketts?
Aye.
Councilmember Robb?
Aye.
Motion is approved. 4-0. Mayor Pro Tem Morrow being absent. And you're going to invite us all over, right?
Sure.
Have a swim party.
Thank you, Mayor and Council.
Very good. Well, congratulations and thank you, Council. All right. Item 10, executive session. The City Council reserves the right to adjourn into executive session during the course of a meeting to seek legal advice from its attorney regarding any item on the posted agenda as authorized by Section 551.071 of the Texas Government Code. Additionally, pursuant to the provision of Chapter 551 of the Texas Government Code, City Council may adjourn into executive session in accordance with the authority contained in 10A here, Section 551.072 Government Code, deliberations regarding real property, purchase, exchange, lease, or value of real property, and deliberation in an open meeting would have detrimental effect in position of the governmental body in negotiations with a third person, specifically property acquisition for public facilities. So the time is, I close the open session here at 7:56 p.m. and I will ask that we re-adjourn into executive session at 5 minutes after 8.